And this show is so indulgent for me and Sean because we get to speak to business owners who love fitness and all things surrounding that. And those are just two things that we love. So when we get to interview someone like Taylor, it just everything aligns, stars align. We could talk for hours. Taylor, you are the CEO, owner, founder of XFit. Is it XFit Burn?
XFit her and XFit burn.
So XFit her and XFit. It's two separate. So that your wealth of business acumen and knowledge from doing that, like we cannot wait to dig into that, how you got there, all your knowledge. And you and Sean's built multiple businesses. And so when I see business owners talk together, it's like this connection that just you understand each other, and all the people listening are going to get the same thing, right? It's a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners. So when you speak today, it's more people getting to hear your experience that they've gone through, and it helps them continue to do what they do. So before we get going, big shout out to Micah Harhoff, the owner of Revolution Power Sports, paid sponsor of the show. If you're looking for a four-wheeler, a side-by-side, and not one that just kind of gets you through the mud, these things look beautiful. I'm not into four-wheelers or side-by-sides, but when I see his marketing and the type of bikes that he brings in, it makes me want to buy one because it looks so cool. I envision myself having a great time and I have to reel myself back in and be like, wait a minute, I don't do that. So you know what it means is just a matter of time before I buy a four wheeler and start looking cool driving around. So yeah, if you're looking for a four wheeler, if you know anybody that is, go see Revolution Power Sports, Michael Harhoff in Willis, Texas. We're supporting Montgomery County business owners, and he's a paid sponsor for the show. So all right, Taylor, let's get into it, man. If you tell us a little bit about yourself, man, we can't wait to find out.
I don't ever know what to say when people ask that. A little bit about yourself.
Yeah, it's a tough question.
Yeah,
It
it's so
is.
broad and so vague. I'm an entrepreneur with the heart of a philanthropist. I'm
Beautiful.
an entrepreneur with the intent to give back. That's why I became an entrepreneur. That, and I'm a little bit stubborn and I don't follow rules well. And so
A
that
better question. I'm going to start. I love that you said that because it is a vague question and it's not very helpful. What? Here's a better question. What impact do you bring to people?
I changed lives,
Boom.
hands down.
Yes.
A recent example. Somebody thought that they weren't going to be able to make it to the gym. They thought they needed to go uh, to an orthopedist. They had some shoulder pain. They weren't able to raise their elbow past their shoulder. They were able, 15 minutes. That's all it took. Donated time, and then almost full range of motion. Another 15 minutes, donated time the next day. Now full range of motion. Now no pain. Only
Mm.
meeting with them 4 times, each time getting smaller increments of time spent. I mean, it's and there hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories like that. So
Yeah.
it's from something simple like that to preventing surgery, to healing, to bringing families closer together,
Mm.
preventing knee replacements. I mean, it's that's why I'm here, guys.
That's beautiful.
Taylor, one of the things, man, I always like to ask business owners and entrepreneurs like yourself, and I know me and you haven't really got a chance to dive deep on your story, but this question that I'm about to ask, I feel like is a very powerful one because for my own entrepreneur and business owner journey, it's been a up and down journey, right? And it's been a journey to say the least. And so I've been able to reflect on that in the last decade of building these businesses. And so I've learned so much and who I've become and what's led me to where I am today. And so I'm curious with you, man, what sparked your entrepreneur journey and what led you to open up your gym?
Oh God, sparked my entrepreneurial journey.
Yes.
I used to mow the lawn with my grandfather. It was mandatory every Saturday. And then one day he messed up and he said, "You know what, Taylor? Some people pay people to do this, but we're not those people." And all I heard is, and I'm in elementary school, is some people pay people to do this. So I grew up with my grandparents, and I got home from school one day, and I just kind of stole the lawnmower. I just went out, while he's at work, and I started going door to door. It's like, "I'll mow your lawn for $5."
Wow.
I'm 4 yards in, and then he starts rolling the corner, and he sees me, and he said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "Well, I'm mowing lawns for money, like you said." Is that? Did you ask if you could use my lawnmower? Yeah. No. He said, how much money have you made today? Like, I just got 20. I'm up to 20. He said, okay, you give me the 20, and next time you ask me to use the lawnmower. And then, okay.
Wow.
So I learned that, I could go door to door, at a young age and start making money. So my entrepreneurial journey started there. And then when I knew that I needed to make money for a car or college or what have you, uh, I just started to go door to door, and I did what I could.
You also
And
learned that you had to pay taxes. Your grandpa tax right there was, I'm going to take that
oh yeah,
20 because
for
you.
sure, for sure. That was a hefty tax. I was
Oh
living.
yeah, 100%.
I got
That's
nothing.
cool. I love that, man.
What was the second part of that question? I love that story.
Yeah, and so and then how did that transition into how did you push or I'm sorry, what led you to open up a gym?
So that was by accident. So I got into entrepreneurial journey started. I'm in college, and my family fell under pretty heavy financial hardship,
Mm.
and so I needed a. I was like, I'm in my second year. I think I'm going to have to go ahead and I need to work more. I don't have time. So I started Googling, and I Googled, what are the highest paying jobs without a collegiate education? Because in my mindset, right, I was like, I'm going to college, even though I was already, working and being an entrepreneur. That didn't click at the time. So I was like, I'm
Mm.
going to college. I'm going to get my law degree, and I'm gonna, that's where I'm going to head. And then number three on the list, number one was air traffic controlman, but it was under the cons because nowadays you have Google and they have pros and cons of jobs. Under cons, it said high suicide rate, and I thought
Yeah.
let's not risk that.
Yes.
And then number three, it was personal training. And under cons, it was commission. And then I had to, I was like, all right, well, I mean, I don't care about that. I know how to make money. So I was like, I could do this. So I paid my way to get a certification. The little money I had in the bank, I dropped out and I got a job at a gym that was willing to hire me while I was studying. And then I had my second client, my first client, he lost 200 pounds with me, but that reward, right, that pleasure came over 2 years.
Wow.
And then he won a body competition on top of it. I remember being behind him and taking the little
What?
the little wooden clothespins, the things that
Yeah, yeah.
hang clothes on. So I'm behind him for the photo shoots, pulling his loose skin back and holding him so you really see the abs.
Wow.
Wow.
And he did all that while having a torn labrum. But my second client, she had cerebral palsies, right? No one was willing to work with her. She was cursing out the owner of the gym, and so she was crying. And so I went up, I was like, hey, how can I help? And long story short, we started working together. I studied. I figured out that there's an 8-book maximum at the library. I didn't know that. Um, and it's really hard to put books back, by the way, once you take the time to put them all out.
Dude, when you go all in, you go all in. Trying to take more than 8 books from a library, that's amazing.
Oh yeah, well I had no idea what cerebral palsy was, right? I'm just a personal trainer and study. And so 3 months in, and she's walking without her walker for the first time in 12 years. She picked up her grandson for the first time in either of their lives. We both cried. 3 more months in, she got a job. She had to pass a physical fitness test, physical readiness test. She had to climb up a flight of stairs twice, holding a baby and her walker on her back. She did it. We cried. Then she started traveling around the country, helping other kids with cerebral. That was the most rewarding thing that I had ever felt, and she changed my life. So from there forward, I thought, this is what I want. I want to experience and feel this for the rest of my life, and I want to be able to create it on a grand scale.
Mm. It's interesting with that. So in the E-Myth, in the book, the E-Myth, and it's basically how to build systems, processes, get out of the business so you can work on it. Because if you're in it, it's very hard to build those systems, processes. And in that book, it talks about the baker, so good at breaking bread, passion, loves it, bakes this bread every day and thinks to himself, why am I baking bread for somebody else, this other head baker? So I'm going to go build my own business. And so they get into their own business, super excited, and they go to bake bread. And then they suddenly realize, well, I need sales. And then they realize, well, I need to do the taxes. Then before they know it, they're doing anything but baking the bread because they have to run the business. And so books basically about figuring that out. So when I'm hearing you have this passion to help these people, and that gets you into business mode. So to build that business, it sounds like it sounds graceful. Like you kind of just have been able to build this business whilst also being able to have that passion. What was that transition to that?
It's not graceful at all.
Excellent. Tell us more.
We want to hear
Tell
it,
us the good
man. We want
stuff.
to hear it.
There are ups and downs all over. There's more downs, guys. And I mean, you guys know this. I mean,
Yeah.
and we all talk about it. It's like let's just use the start, right, of XFit Her as a part of this. That was XFit Her was never really, which is a women's only gym. It was never my intent. It's something that just kind of fell in, and it seemed like it worked. There
Mm.
was an opportunity that presented itself. I had already opened up the OC Wellness, and in the spot where XFit Burn now is, um, somebody approached me with an opportunity, and I thought, you know what? Let's look at it. Numbers look good, things look good, and I decided, I'll go ahead. This could be a good thing. Let's do it. Let's proceed. So I started to dive into that, and that's when obstacles really started to, like, recently really started to hit, like with XFit Her, XFit Burn. Numbers weren't what they said they were. These things weren't what they said they were. Needed to do audits. I started to pay for this other. I'm trying to acquire this other business to then therefore make it my own, and then now I'm footing the bill for many things and to keep that business afloat, because now I'm already committed. Now I'm loan deep, so now there's no backing out because I'm already loan deep. So how do I figure it out? And then there now more obstacles. They owed rent. I couldn't take over their location because they owed $42,000, something along those lines, to the property management. So then we had to come to some sort of a deal or arrangement, and then we figured that part out. But then I had 7 days to build a makeshift studio, so I slept at the studio. I did a lot of the tear out and all the mini renovations myself, because I only had 7 days. I needed someone that was going to be there all day, all night. It's like, who else is going to do that but me? And so then I got this women's only gym built out in like this 7 day period. And then it was, okay, well, now what do I do with all this money I borrowed? So now I got to figure out what to do with it. So then I go into another spot, right? And then so the spot next door to me, they were struggling, and I said, okay, well, why don't I sublease from you? Because I could, as long as you okay renovations, and I could put in another concept. And so I came up with XFit Burn, and then here's my other concept. So then that took months longer than it should have,
Mm.
and then turns out they owed a lot of money, and so then it was, who's going to come up with the $30-something thousand that they owe? I'm not going to do that. Look, just get rid of them. Give me a lease. I'll buy all of the stuff, from within, so I can get moving. Because now, guys, this was, we're talking about from the time I took out a loan, and I'm paying fees on this loan.
Yeah.
We're talking September of 2023 all the way to May of 2024.
Wow.
Trying to get that figured out, thinking that this is going to happen a lot faster than it did.
Yeah.
Then other obstacles present themselves, right? Because things took longer, because property management took longer. Then I created my first quote unquote enemies, and then and they came from within, because the person that I was trying to acquire things from ended up communicating with staff members that I did acquire, and then they put a bad taste in their mouth, and then they wondered why it's taking so long to acquire the space next door. So they reach out to property management. Property management makes a mistake and says, oh, this space is available. And so they call me a liar in public, and like, no.
So like I said, super graceful. You just made it so.
It's everywhere, guys. It's
Wow.
One of the things, Taylor, I resonate with so much what you're saying, because early and often, one of the things that I was trying to do in 2015, side note, I started my first business as a lawn care company as well. I actually went and knocked on the door because I didn't like how high their grass was. So we were
I didn't know that. That's funny, dude.
We went and mowed them for free, and then other neighbors were like, "You mow lawns?" We're like, "Yep." We
Yep.
started a lawn company in our community. We were rolling around on a John Deere tractor with a trailer behind in our first house. And we ended up having like 30 homes on our first lawn care company. Anyways, so I resonate with what you're saying, these ups and these downs and these trials and tribulations. And in the first probably 5 to 8 years, I was in isolation. I was trying to do everything on my own. I was like, nope, I wasn't listening to podcasts. It wasn't really popular back then. And I wasn't on YouTube, and I wasn't learning from anybody. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a mastermind group. I didn't have anybody to bounce these ideas off of. And so one of the things that I had come to, I hit a wall. I was like, dude, I'm doing the same thing. I'm treading water here. I'm a cog in the wheel. I'm a rat race. I'm trying to figure things out on my own, but I'm just like, I need some help. I need some assistance. I need some counseling. So I hired a coach, my first coach that I had hired. Anyways, fast forward, long story short, my question is to you, and it changed the life for me. And so for the last 3 years, that's what I've been doing, business coaching, and then started a mastermind group, and so with other like-minded individuals. But I'm curious with you, was there a key moment in your life where you're like, man, I need some help. I need a business coach. I need a mentor that has shaped you into the business owner you are today?
I had my first it's a two-part answer. So my first mentor presented itself. My grandpa always said, if you want to open up a business, learn off of someone else's dime first. So I did do that. And then that's where I met my first mentor. And he gave me a lot of great advice, and I learned a lot from him. And then after that, I didn't seek anybody until XFit came along. Because until XFit Burn came along, because once I had this idea and this concept, and I saw the ability that it had, and the demand that was there, how fast it could scale, I thought, okay, I need somebody that could help me with the things that I don't know, because there's a lot that I don't know. I've never scaled anything to the degree that I want to with this, and the degree that I believe it has. So I found somebody. And it's made a world of difference to have a business consultant.
Really, really good, man. Yeah. So, man, all that said, if you were to go back and speak to yourself, and even give advice to someone that's listening to this, because when you were speaking there, a lot of people say this: if you knew all that you had to go through to get to where you are today, you wouldn't start. Because they'd already be out because of all the difficulties that you just can't see coming. Yeah, what advice would you give to yourself and or other people who may be going through what you're going through?
Difficulties are going to be there regardless. It's just a matter of, are you facing difficulties seeking what you want? Or are you facing difficulties running away from what you want? I want what I'm going after. I'm sure you guys do as well. But there's a difference when you're fighting for something you care about versus fighting for something you really don't.
Yeah, huge difference.
I agree, man. A lot of times I talk to a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs. Have you ever taken the Enneagram, Taylor? Enneagram?
A long time ago, yeah.
Okay. Do you remember what your number was by chance?
No, I don't.
And it's okay. So what do you think he is, out of curiosity? You and studying.
I'd say maybe a 7.
7?
I think maybe a 7, and 7s are really good entrepreneurs. Business. A lot of them. Steve Jobs was a 7.
Don't compare me with Steve Jobs. Don't do that.
Only that his mission was to put a ding in the universe.
The Irish, right?
What's that?
I said the Irish, right?
Yeah, Irish, Scottish, yeah.
Oh, Scottish. Oh.
It's at this point, my name's Ewan, and no one ever is able to say Ewan, right? So I just go with anything. I go with Irish or Scottish because it's very similar. Now, if it was English, we'd have a whole different problem. But no, I'm just kidding.
I know how to offend you. Okay.
So
I'm just kidding.
So my question is on a lot of entrepreneurs. What I've learned with the Enneagram, and me and you talk a lot behind the scenes, is self-doubt and imposter syndrome to a certain degree. Have you had any of those struggles? And if so, how have you overcome those?
I'm a believer that there's little moments of self-doubt that present themselves. I'm not a believer that it's just, some people say it just goes away, and I don't think so. At least it hasn't for me. There's always an inner monologue that I believe that we must maintain control over. Uh, there's only been one moment in my life, a couple moments or a time period in my life where self-doubt was extremely prominent. And imposter syndrome was extremely prominent. I was born into a lot of trials and tribulations, and I had to figure that out quite a bit on my own. Sean, I don't know if you watched the video that I sent you, but I mean, when I was, is that, yeah, you did, or
I watched about a quarter of it.
yeah, it's childhood sucked. I mean, and it sucks for a lot of people. But I had to figure out how to compartmentalize my mind and learn that something I say quite a bit is learn how to control my feelings.
Mm.
Emotions are out of our control. They're very visceral. You react. But the feelings that follow an emotion are firmly within our control. We have the ability to control the way we perceive an emotion, and then therefore what we do with it. Does
Mm.
it make you run away? Does it make you freeze? Does it make you shut down? Does it make you continue to doubt? And then when I reference pivot point, how fast can you get away from that doubt? How fast can you get back to the task at hand? Just like you, and when you were talking about the ups and downs, people saying, "Oh, I never would have started." I mean, I don't feel that way. When we go,
I love to hear you say that.
how fast can we get
Because
back
you
to?
ultimately know what's on the end of it, though. Like a lot of people say, "Oh, I wouldn't do it." When I hear people say that, I'm like, "Yeah, but you wouldn't have what you have now, and I don't think you would trade that for anything." You'd weigh up the pros and cons, and to hear you say that, like, yeah, you'd still go through it all.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm fighting for something I truly believe in, and that
Yeah.
without a doubt, when you love something, nothing's gonna pull you. There's no reason not to.
A lot of people don't know what you're talking about, like, or they might have at some point and shut that down because you don't get to have access to that. Like, because most people won't. They hear what you went through and they're like, "Oh, I couldn't handle that, so I'll go do the job, the rat
Yeah.
race, security, comfort." But that's a slow death, and not that there's anything wrong with that. Some people love their jobs, so I'm not like banging on jobs, but as far as like that freedom, like the allure of entrepreneurship in business and yeah, you being able to say all that is a beautiful thing. Do you have a team, Taylor? Do you have people involved now? I don't think we'd asked that. Like,
Yeah. I've got a very good team actually. We're rock solid right now, and we're expanding. So I'm happy about that. So we're hiring slow right now, and picking people that meet personality requirements, educational requirements, and then we're going to continue going.
that's
Um,
cool.
well, I
But
like to touch base on what you said, though. Some people don't. That's one of my biggest pet peeves when communicating with people when they say, "Oh, I couldn't do that," or
Mm,
"Oh man, gosh," it's because there's a math equation, right? I don't know if y'all have ever heard of, A plus S equals R. So ability plus strategy, equals results, right?
mm.
So every single person has the ability. Most people are lacking the strategy, but I like to add my own in there after strategy, because even with the strategies, you have to act.
yeah.
And
Yes.
that's the scary part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, when I hear you say that, I resonate with that on the action piece of it. And you and knows I know this about what would be one piece of advice somebody listening to this that doesn't take action. We've actually did an episode on this in the podcast a few weeks ago on taking action, because that's typically one thing that's missing on whatever it is, health and fitness and working out in the morning routine, evening routine, starting a business, going on that vacation, taking that action versus the procrastination. Is there one tip, somebody listening to this, it's like, man, I get what you're saying, with your formula, and you got to have the strategy and you got to have the ability and you want which equals the results, but you get none of that if you don't take action. What's helped you in taking action in those moments of when some struggle pops up, if it's self-doubt or imposter syndrome or the fear or judgment, criticism, whatever, any feeling or emotion pops up, you're like, nope, I'm going to take action anyways. Because obviously I have my way of doing it, but I'm curious on what's your way and your perspective of taking action when something needs to get done.
I'm okay with falling. I so I, I in my mind I go back to this moment. We're all we've all been kids before, uh, getting farther and farther from it. But it's all my friends jumped over this creek bed, and I was the only one that didn't. I stopped, and I was like, I know I can't. And then they said,
Mm.
dude, you just got to stop thinking and commit. And I was like, what does that mean? It's like, run, don't think, jump, see what happens. I was like, okay. And I made
Yeah.
it. And I made it. So
Mm.
I go back to that in my head all the time. And then whenever I get scared or I have doubt, I'm like, well, let's see what happens.
Well,
And we just,
it's the did you die? But
yeah.
did you die?
But did
No.
you? No, I didn't die.
You learned. Oh, I didn't make it.
Yeah,
What do I need to do moving forward? Okay.
that's
You
it.
learned from it.
That success formula is like all over the place, but people don't really get what that means. It means that
Mm.
you're going to figure out all the wrong ways or the ways that don't get you there. And then you
100%.
just have to keep going until you
Yes.
find, like, oh my God, I got it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got it. It could take you 1,000 tries. That's the point of the story. It took Thomas Edison 1,000 times before he got the light bulb. Okay, great. All right. But people still don't seem to understand what that means. That
I,
means
I,
you gotta fail. And you
I,
gotta fail hard.
I think it's a skill gap. I think everything is a skill gap because what does a skill gap mean? You get skillful at something once you get repetitions, thoughtful repetitions, and very informational, educational, internal experiences that you can now trust because you've gone through something, right? So that's technically you're building your skill as you put yourself through more and more transactions of getting into these scenarios where you fail and you didn't die. You do that over and over and over 1,000 times, right? Well, the person that's done it 1,000 times, they have now got this kind of innate sense like, oh, it's not going to hurt me. So I'm going to keep doing that actually is what taught me. But if someone's only done it 15 times, they just don't have the reps. And so they're still under the belief of this is going to kill me. It's a bear that's going to cut my throat, so they won't because that's petrifying. And especially when I think about you guys, especially like you mentioned your childhood. So you got a lot of reps when you were young. And Sean, you were thrown into scenarios where you had to, so you already had a taste of it when you were young, but when you were forced, like you lose a job and you need to perform, now you have these loans, like you have to perform, so you automatically get all those reps, and you just learn through experience that, man, none of this is killing me, all of this is learning. I'm becoming somebody else by doing that. But if someone else is not in that environment, they can't, you can't buy that. You have to go through it. And so if they haven't gone through that experience, they're going to sit there and be like, I don't know how, well, I don't know what they're talking about. I'm not sure how to do that. And the only way is more action, more reps, more steps to put yourself in the fire and realize you're not actually going to get burned in the fire. It's not comfortable. It's very hot, but you don't get burned and die.
Speaking of reps, we talked about employees and managing employees. This is my favorite topic, man.
Yeah,
I love
it
this
is his
topic,
favorite.
man. I just love it, dude. I love it because you can go fast alone, but you can go further with a team. So, with your journey, Taylor, as far as leadership and managing employees, because it's one and the same, what has been the toughest lesson for you to learn in your leadership journey of building your business and managing employees, man?
Oof, toughest lesson. Fire fast. I mean that's and don't get too close. Uh,
Mm.
so there's getting close to a team, and you need to understand that you have to be there, you have to lead, you have to be close, but you also uh, can't be close enough to where you let your emotions get in the way of letting somebody go that's got to go.
Mm.
And it only um, it there's a I'm gonna butcher this, guys. So somebody that's listening is gonna, big thumbs down. But
It's
what
okay.
is
You're
it?
in person.
It's the Army testing, it's the Marine testing, and they have this scale, right? And so there's skill, and then there's trust, and so they'll take anybody that's high on trust over anybody that's high on skill,
Hmm.
and so
Mm.
skill is something that can be taught, right? But
Mm.
trust is that's something that arguably can't.
Right.
Now you're trying to change someone's framework, and that's not what we're in business for. That's not my business, at least.
Mm.
So I want finding people that you can trust, and that's hard sometimes.
Let me bring something up. So we're in a leadership group together. That's how I met you. And I met you the first time. And then I realized the last few times you haven't been there. And I told you in behind the scenes, I'm like, that's brilliant. I'm like, that's what I need to do. And I don't know if this was your strategy, but I realized I'm like, because that's typically what I'll do. I'll replace myself because now you have a lieutenant in there,
Yep.
right? So can you speak to that a little bit? Was that your strategy?
That's my strategy with some things, and because I know that I don't have time.
Yeah.
It was definitely a point that I wanted to make. I knew that I had somebody that could consistently golf, and I wouldn't have gone if I didn't. And I will be there every now and then. I'll pop in when I can, but like if it's as long as I have somebody there that's present, I can now make a difference elsewhere.
Right.
Right. So, and I trust that person to do a good job. So all of that comes down to trust. It's skill comes along the way. And so this person, can they be there? Will they keep their word? Will they be consistent? Do I trust them to represent all the values that we have within our company? Yep. 100%. You're going to be my go-to person. And the same thing with other networking groups.
I'm sorry, Ewan, I got to take this one.
No,
How do you attract and retain talent? So I know you hire slow, and I'm the same way. Hire slow, and I've learned to fire fast, right? But I've learned to weed out the ones I don't want in the organization by talking about the vision, mission, core values. And so we have a more intense hiring process. But I'm curious with you, how do you attract and retain that talent?
Well, there's multiple parts, right? Because one, everybody wants money, right? Despite how much somebody loves your culture, if they have larger financial goals, and you can't provide that, then and that typically when you have somebody that's passionate, that's really good, you want an A player, right? They're going to have some financial goals, and 100%. You got to be able to find a way to provide that and be competitive. And if you don't have it now, find a way to create it. Figure out how to incentivize that person, because eventually it'll end up being a break point. Two, making sure that you're able to meet on that personality level, that company culture that you're trying to build and create. Once you get there, then you make sure that you have an interest in where they want. I have some people on my team that don't intend to be with me forever. So that's an expectation that's set right from the get-go. Okay, how long could you realistically designate to me? Okay, great. Now we've got a timeline. What do you want to do? What connections do I have? Then I think, what connections do I have to help them achieve this? Because if I help this, despite whether or not it's working for, keeping them here at my company, I know that if I support somebody, they're going to support me too. And so it's working to make sure that we meet each other where we're at, our expectations are set, and that I go above and beyond. Up at the top, we go above and beyond to ensure that you're happy, you meet all of your goals, you grow, you don't stay stagnant. Everything you want in life, we go above and beyond to make sure that we have a way or fight to try to provide. And then we do it. And then we go from there. And then in turn, they'll do the same.
How often does that happen? Because that's kind of the stars align type thing. Like, and Sean had asked, like, how do you attract? Is it attraction or is it you keeping your eye out? A bit of both. But like, how do you build that?
Always be interviewing. Always. Hiring ads are never shut down. Hundreds and hundreds of people for every position to be able to call, and then you go through. Our interview process is, we start with a phone call so we don't waste time with anything in person. Try to gauge a feel for the individual and who they are, and go from there. And
do you hire to buy back your time, or do you hire to grow?
Hire to grow. I'm not trying to buy back my time. I'm trying to be able to reinvest my time.
And that leads me into, as a business owner and entrepreneur, what is the percentage mix from technician, manager, and entrepreneur, aka working on your business, not in it? What would you say the percentage is right now in building this business?
For me, myself?
Yeah, for yourself.
I'm 100% working on the business. I have clients that I want to work with, because I like that, and it's something that I can't give up, with like within me. But I do that because I want to, not because I
Yeah.
need to.
Yeah.
And everything else is working on the business.
Mm.
So how many years have you been building so far, Taylor?
One.
1 year. Okay. And that's great.
You've got like 10 years worth of knowledge in that 1 year. I love it,
Yeah. Well,
man.
Yeah, I mean, with XFit her is a year old. XFit burns 3 months. So we already have POC for XFit her. So now it's build POC for XFit burn,
Mm.
and once we have it, then it's what am I going to scale first, and then that's then it's going to be plant 3 of these and let's go.
Mm.
two questions. The first one is, what would you tell somebody listening to this that's a new business owner, maybe 0 to 12 months, or even a seasoned business owner that's a prisoner to their business and they're working in their business. They're the technician, which is aligned with the E-Myth book. They're doing everything: advertising, marketing, hiring, answering the phone calls, doing the emails. They're doing everything. Versus somebody working on the business, right? They're replacing themselves. They're working systems and processes. They're improving. They're optimizing. And they're staying in their unique zone of genius. But what would you tell somebody, one thing, so they can start removing themselves from working in the business to on the business?
Firstly, scale, 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 scale. Uh, that's step one, right? Because the next step takes money. Uh,
Yeah.
so the next step is the hedgehog concept, right? Figuring out what can I be the best in the world at? What drives my economic engine, and what am I deeply passionate about?
Yes.
And then that's what you focus on. And then now that you've scaled, you've lived in that life, right? Because I started out in my garage, and
Mm.
then I built, I scaled, until I converted outdoor area, other parts of my home, and I kept going and kept going until I knew that I had money, or the capability to get money, and then I could do this, and then I did this, and now I knew that I could put different people in different spots. And so, what am I deeply passionate? And then I went with the hedgehog concept. So you do the same thing. Um, Work that, live it, bleed it, sweat it, and then go.
How do you feel about isolation versus surrounding yourself with other like-minded individuals like this, having those conversations in
Oh,
this
no,
entrepreneur journey?
no isolation. No, no, absolutely not. There, isolation in times of necessity,
Mm.
uh, in times of recoup, and even still, you don't need to be isolated, but you can isolate yourself from certain things. So it does isolation can mean a couple of things, right? You can isolate yourself from certain tasks, duties, environments, and go on to
Yes.
others, versus secluding yourself to like Brad Pitt did way back when he just disappeared, fell onto his couch, and smoked a bunch of pot for a certain amount of time. And
Mm.
then we don't need to do that. There's no value there. Is your isolation time providing value? That could be recouping, getting away from the stress, coming back with a fresh mind.
Mm.
It's like tuning up the car, right? You're taking it in to get serviced. I'm going to the beach to get serviced. And now I'm going to come back and I'm ready to go. I've got new all-weather tires. Rain, snow, ice, I don't care. I'm ready to go.
Mm.
But before Sean asked that question, I literally was thinking, I wonder what he does in his off time, like to recoup and or for fun. Because man, you go hard. You're all about it. You know it in depth. You live and breathe it. Yeah. So how do you do that recouping? Like what do you do for? Because it's an important answer too. Because a lot of guys out there, they don't. They they don't have that aspect, and burnout can show up. Whatever that means for people. But yeah, what do you do to make sure you handle that?
No, burnout's a real thing. So I like daily habits. We should all have our daily things, right? Like me, exercise, yoga, breath work, morning night routine. It doesn't take a lot of time. It just takes a little bit. I love having a good cigar. I'm a fitness guy, right? But
Yes.
oh, fitness guy, but I love a good cigar. It's great to be able to sit there, recoup, rest the mind during that time. Or if you have it with somebody, have some great conversation, and get away from some of the day-to-day things that you do.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Going
Mm.
away for a weekend. Also something that's great. If you can go away in Texas, we have a lot of little spots.
What's some spots you like to go to?
Austin, Hill Country, New Orleans, beach.
Nice, man. And that rolled right off the tongue. You got it lined up.
They're all within a very easy driving
Yeah.
distance. You could do a 2-3 day trip, and you won't miss a beat.
Yeah. Beautiful.
We'll wrap things up, man. Final question. And even if you got your final question, if you could go back and give yourself, your younger self, one piece of advice, and he's listening to this right now, Taylor, what would it be?
Start sooner.
Start sooner. Yeah.
Mic drop.
Well, my question then would be, why would you say that to your younger self?
Because I didn't start soon enough.
How could you have? What would have been the catalyst there? Like,
I thought that I needed more time, experience, and money, and I didn't.
It's an invisible brick wall that doesn't exist. You just step through it.
Yeah, it never existed. It was something that was planted by other people. There was a bunch of noise, and I just kind of fell into the societal belief, which was unrecognized doubt, and then it prevented me from starting as soon as I could.
And the last 3 minutes might be some of the most powerful things I've ever heard on the podcast. And we're 100 plus episodes in. Yep. That little thing right there is huge. Yes. Like that invisible, like you could just do it. Just do it sooner. Do it now. Like why wait?
It's okay, guys. You got to trust yourself. Like don't worry about everybody else. Put everything else to the side. And if you fall and you're the only one around and you fail, are you going to judge you? Or are you going to pick yourself back up? Are you going to try again? Do you care? Does it matter? What's the impact it's going to make? Are you going to do it again? Are you going to learn from it? I'll probably learn from it. Okay. Too many people care about what other people think whenever they fall, and they're worried about that more often than they're worried about themselves.
I see a young Alex Hermosi right here who is working on $1 billion company. Dude, a lot of things, fitness, of course. You started with fitness, and so did he, and still is. But a lot of things you said, I'm like, man, you embody that. It's not just in word, but by hearing what you've been doing. Your actions speak the same thing. So I see the same trajectory for you. This will not be your final stop with business, man. I think you're and you know it too, like on the cusp of all the other things once you have your systems, set up to go do that.
I've got plans for sure.
Yeah.
Man, we're out of time. So we're going to wrap things up, brother. Taylor, really appreciate you being on the show today, man. So glad we got to all link up, hear your story, share your struggles, trials and tribulations and successes and wins. And we'll be thinking about you. We'll be praying for you. And we're just super grateful for you, man. I know our listeners have received nothing but value today, especially everybody.
Masterclass.
Really appreciate everybody listening. This has been authentic conviction, somebody that's been through and going through the entrepreneur journey. So that is who we like surrounding ourselves with and plugging ourselves in. So let's continue the relationship, man. Thanks for connecting. How can our community at Level Up and Live, how can we support you, man?
Send people over for a free class.
Where's your locations? We didn't ask that. Where are you at?
We're off of 1488, right over in that little Marcel Town Center, right across from the Escape movie theater, same center as Citizens Grill. So just Google XFit Her, XFit Burn, and something else you could do to support me is if you've got a dream or you've got a goal and you're waiting, stop waiting. Just get on with it already. And
I love that.
Go ahead and try for yourself.
And if you've listened to this podcast and you take that and heeded that advice and take that advice, make sure you share it in the comments with Taylor. Send a DM. Let him know that you took action because of that advice. So I know that's going to be impactful and huge. So again, thank you. We'll have everything in the show notes as far as links to follow Taylor and support Taylor. Again, thanks for everybody. Make sure you share this with a like-minded individual who needs to hear this message and from somebody that's actually doing. So go out there, happen, and let's get it done. Level up and live.
Thanks, Taylor. Level up and live.
Level up and live. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Ewan.
Amen. Thank you.